pressed his face against the observation window, and watched the ship's dock at Orbital Station 7. The 8-year-old boy had seen hundreds of alien vessels in his life, but they never stopped being amazing. Behind him, his small pet chirped softly and rubbed against his leg. "Look, that one has 6 engines," said, pointing at a massive cargo ship. The little creature looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes. Was about the size of a cat, with 6 legs and soft fur that glowed in different colors. Right now, the fur was light blue, which meant was happy. His father, Ambassador, walked over and put a hand on his son's shoulder. "I have to go to the meeting hall now. You need to stay here in the observation lounge, okay?" "Okay, Dad," said. He picked up and held the warm creature close. "We'll be good." Ambassador smiled, but there was worry in his eyes. "They are very strict about rules. Try to stay out of their way." He kissed the top of his head and left. The observation lounge was a large room with windows on 3 sides. A few other aliens sat in chairs, reading or talking quietly. Found a comfortable spot near a water fountain and sat down. He pulled out a small tablet and started playing a game while curled up in his lap. Outside in the corridor could hear the sound of metal feet. The security drones were making their rounds. They were in species that looked like giant mantises. They didn't use living soldiers much. Instead, they built drones to do security work. The drones were cold, efficient, and didn't care about feelings. Heard the metal footsteps too. The little creature's fur changed from blue to yellow, which meant nervous, started to shake. "It's okay," whispered, stroking the soft fur. "They won't bother us, we're just sitting here." But kept shaking. The creature had good instincts. Something was wrong. A guard drone entered the observation lounge. It was tall, made of dark metal, with multiple arms and glowing red sensors for eyes. The drone scanned the room methodically, checking each person and alien inside. When its sensors landed on, the drone stopped. It walked straight toward his pet. The metal footsteps got louder, closer. "Unregistered organism detected," the drone said in a flat, mechanical voice. "Scanning for contamination risk." "He's registered," said quickly. "His name is, he's from the planet. My dad has all the papers." The drone didn't respond. It extended a scanning arm toward. A red light swept over the small creature. His fur turned orange now, which meant scared. The little creature tried to hide behind, making small, whimpering sounds. "Please don't scare him," said. "He's not dangerous, he's just a pet." "Organism shows signs of agitation," the drone reported. "This indicates possible hostile intent, moving organism away from public space." "Wait, no," started to say. But the drone didn't wait. It extended a force arm, a metal appendage that ended in a wide paddle. Without warning, the drone shoved hard. The small creature flew sideways and hit the wall with a painful thud. Cried out, a high-pitched sound of pain and fear. Jumped to his feet. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. He looked at the guard drone with eyes that had gone completely cold. When he spoke, his voice was quiet and steady. "Big mistake." The drone turned its red sensors toward the boy. "Threat assessment, minimal, human child, no action required." It logged something on its internal system. "Incident report, minor contact with unregistered organism. Organism relocated. No damage to station property." The drone turned and walked away, its metal feet clanking on the floor. Ran too. The little creature was lying on the floor, shaking badly. Its fur had turned dark purple, which meant hurt and scared. There was a small cut on one of its legs and was breathing fast. "It's okay, buddy, it's okay," said, his voice gentle now. He picked up very carefully and held the creature close to his chest. "I'm going to get help. You're going to be fine." Other people in the observation lounge had seen what happened. A tall, bird-like alien stood up. "That drone was too rough. Your pet is a yes. They are a protected species." "I know," said. His voice was still quiet, still cold. "That's why this was a big mistake." pulled out his communicator and pressed a button. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She had kind eyes and wore a security uniform. "I need you," said. Security officer looked at the boy's face and immediately knew something was wrong. "Where are you?" Observation Lounge, Section 3. A drone hurt. His expression changed. Her kind eyes became hard. "I'm on my way, don't move." The connection ended. Sat back down, still holding carefully. He whispered to the creature, telling it that everything would be okay, but inside felt something burning. It wasn't anger exactly. It was something colder than that. Something that made his hand stop shaking and his mind become very, very clear. The bird-like alien sat down next to him. "My name is, I am from the planet, I saw everything. I can be a witness if you need one." "Thank you," said. "That might be important." 3 minutes later arrived. She walked fast, her boots making sharp sounds on the floor. She knelt down next to and gently examined. Her hands were careful and professional. "Small cut, bruising, probable internal pain from impact," she said. She looked up at, "Tell me exactly what happened." Told her everything. As he spoke's jaw got, and when he finished, she stood up. "I'm taking to the medical bay. You come with me. We're going to file a formal complaint." "Will it matter?" asked. "It was just a drone." Looked at the boy. "It matters. They're protected under Galactic Council law. Harming one carries penalties, big penalties." She picked up her communicator. "This is security officer. I'm filing an incident report regarding a guard drone. Code 773, harm to protected species." There was a pause, then a voice came back. "Confirmed, report logged, magistrate will be." Help stand up. As they walked toward the medical bay, made soft sounds. The little creature's fur was slowly changing from dark purple to light purple. It was starting to feel safer. I said, "Yes." "I told the drone it was a big mistake." Looked down at the boy. She saw something in his eyes that made her pause. It was the same cold, steady look she'd seen in soldiers, in people who meant what they said. "I believe you did," said quietly. They walked through the corridors of the station. Aliens of different species moved past them, going about their business. None of them knew that something had just changed. None of them knew that a small incident in an observation lounge would become something much bigger. Because humans have a rule that many aliens don't understand. Humans protect what they love. And when something they love gets hurt, humans don't forget. They don't forgive easily. And they always follow through on their warnings. The guard drone had made a big mistake. It just didn't know it yet. But it would learn. They all would learn. The medical bay was bright and clean. Doctor, a young human woman with gentle hands, examined on a soft table. The little creature's fur was still light purple, but it was starting to show hints of blue again. "The cut isn't deep," doctor said, "but there's bruising along the left side. Hit that wall pretty hard." She applied a healing gel to the wound. "The good news is that heal quickly. He'll be fine in a few days." Nodded, but he didn't smile. He just watched carefully. Stood by the door, talking into her communicator. Her voice was professional, but there was steel underneath. "Yes, I'm requesting a formal meeting with security. This incident violated 3 separate galactic statutes." She listened for a moment. "I don't care if they're busy. This is about a protected species." Ambassador arrived 20 minutes later. He looked at his son, then at. He didn't need to ask what happened. He could see it on everyone's faces. "How bad?" he asked. "Physically, we'll recover. Legally, they are in serious trouble if this gets reported to the Galactic Council." Ambassador sat down next to his son. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Dad, but was really scared." "I know." Ambassador put his arm around. "We're going to handle this the right way, through proper channels." 2 hours later, they were in a meeting room. It was a neutral space, with furniture that worked for many different species. On one side of the table sat Ambassador and, On the other side sat Magistrate, the leader of the delegation. Magistrate looked like a giant praying mantis made of green chitin. His 4 eyes were cold and unblinking. 2 smaller officials stood behind him. "This meeting is unnecessary," Magistrate said. His voice was sharp and clicking. The drone performed its duty according to protocol. Placed a tablet on the table. The drone violated Galactic Council Statute 47 regarding protected species. It also violated Station Regulation 12 about excessive force, and it violated. The organism was unregistered, Magistrate interrupted. "The organism," Ambassador said calmly, "is named. He is registered with Earth Diplomatic Services. He is which means he's protected under Council law. Your drone hurt him without cause." It was a lower organism. The drone acted to prevent possible contamination. Spoke up, his voice was quiet but clear. "Wasn't doing anything wrong. He was sitting in my lap. The drone scared him, then hit him." Magistrate's eyes turned toward the boy. "Human children are too emotional about animals. This is a known weakness of your species." The room got very quiet. His hand tightened on her tablet. Ambassador's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "We're not asking for much," Ambassador said. "Just an acknowledgement that the drone used excessive force, an apology, and assurance that it won't happen again. The collective does not apologize for proper protocol, even when that protocol breaks galactic law. We interpret the law differently than humans do. You are too focused on individual organisms. We focus on order and efficiency." Leaned forward. "Magistrate, let me be very clear. If you don't address this incident, I will be forced to file a formal complaint with the Galactic Council. The penalties for harming a protected species include fines, trade restrictions, and diplomatic sanctions." Magistrate made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "You threaten us over a small animal. This proves my point. Humans are too soft, too emotional. You mistake sentiment for strength." "We're not threatening," Ambassador said. "We're explaining consequences." "This matter is closed," Magistrate said. He stood up. "The collective will not waste more time on this. We have important trade negotiations to complete." He and his officials left the room. After they were gone, slammed her hand on the table. "That arrogant." "Careful," Ambassador said, but he looked angry too. "Why don't you take back to our quarters, rest for a while?" "Okay, Dad." Picked up and walked to the door. Before he left, he looked back at his father and, "I told the drone it was a big mistake. I guess I should have told Magistrate too." After left, an ambassador looked at each other. "What do you want to do?" asked. "What I want and what I should do are 2 different things," Ambassador said. "I'm a diplomat. I have to follow proper procedures. And if proper procedures don't work." Ambassador was quiet for a long moment. "Then we'll see what happens." Word spread quickly through the station. By evening, every human on 7 knew what had happened. They knew about the drone. They knew about the meeting. They knew about Magistrate's dismissal. In the human section of the station, people talked in quiet voices. A cargo handler named sat with other workers in the mess hall. "They hurt a kid's pet," said. "Then they mocked him for caring." "I heard the Magistrate called it a lower organism," someone else said. "Though they're protected, they know that. They don't care. They think we're weak because we have emotions." Was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe we should show them what human weakness looks like." In the engineering section, a woman named checked the duty schedules. She noticed that they were running 3 trade negotiations simultaneously. They needed a lot of support from station services, human services. In the medical bay, doctor updated her files. She made notes about response times, equipment availability, and staff assignments. Just routine documentation, nothing unusual. In her security office, reviewed the station's protocols. She looked at schedules, patrol routes, shift changes. She didn't change anything, she just looked. And she shared what she found with a few other people, just information, nothing more. The station AI monitored all communications. She noticed patterns forming. Humans were talking to each other more than usual. They were sharing information, coordinating. Sent a message to magistrate. Warning: human behavioral patterns indicate elevated probability of coordinated response. Recommend diplomatic resolution. Magistrate read the message and deleted it. Humans complain when they're unhappy. This is normal. They lack the discipline to take meaningful action. But wasn't so sure. She had been watching humans for 3 years. She had learned something important. Humans were patient. They didn't react immediately to every problem. They thought, they planned, they coordinated. And when they finally acted, they were very effective. That night sat in his room with. The little creature was curled up on a soft cushion, sleeping peacefully. Its fur was light blue again. It felt safe. His father came in and sat on the edge of the bed. "How are you feeling?" "I'm okay," said, "but I keep thinking about what the magistrate said, that we're weak because we care about animals." Ambassador smiled sadly. "A lot of species think that. They see our compassion as a flaw." "Is it?" "No, it's our greatest strength. We form bonds with others. We protect those bonds. That's not weakness. That's humanity." "What's going to happen now?" Ambassador was quiet for a moment. "I don't know. I'm going to follow diplomatic procedures, but the rest of the humans on this station, they might have their own ideas." "Will there be trouble?" "Maybe, but not the kind they expect." Looked at his father. "I really did warn them, Dad. I told the drone it was a big mistake." "I know you did, and you were right." Outside, the station continued its endless cycle. Ships docked and departed. Aliens conducted business. They prepared for their important trade summit. Everything seemed normal. But something had changed. It was subtle. The kind of change most people wouldn't notice until it was too late. The humans on 7 weren't angry. They weren't shouting or making threats. They were just watching, waiting, planning. And that was much more dangerous. 3 days passed. Was healing well. The cut on his leg was almost gone, and his fur stayed light blue most of the time. Took him to the observation lounge every day, and they watched the ships together. But something was different on the station. People who worked there could feel it. Ambassador made one final attempt. He sent a formal message to magistrate. It was polite and professional. It asked for 3 simple things: acknowledgement of the incident, an apology, and new protocols to prevent similar events. Magistrate's response came within an hour. It was short. Request: the collective stands by its security procedures. This matter is closed. Then the magistrate did something worse. He made a public statement to all species on the station. He wanted to show that they were strong and wouldn't be pushed around by human emotions. "The collective values order over sentiment," the statement said. "Some species form irrational attachments to lower organisms. They allow emotions to cloud their judgment. We saw this recently when a human child's pet was properly removed from a public space. The child complained. The humans made demands, but we do not negotiate with feelings. We operate on logic and protocol. Lesser species must accept their place in the hierarchy." The statement went out to every communicator on the station. Every species read it. Everyone understood that magistrate was talking about and. In the human quarters, people read the statement. Nobody shouted. Nobody sent angry messages. They just read it, looked at each other, and nodded. That night, something began. It started with the cargo handler. He was supposed to help load containers onto a trade ship. Instead, he called in sick. His replacement also called in sick. So did the backup. The ship had to wait for cargo that didn't arrive. In the engineering section, a request for maintenance was filed. It sat in the queue. A human engineer looked at it, marked it as non-emergency, and moved it to the bottom of the list. It would be handled eventually. just not right now. In the mess hall, an official tried to order food from a human run. The cook was polite. "Sorry, we're restocking right now. Maybe try the restaurant on level 3. The cook wasn't rude. He just wasn't helpful. These were small things. Individually, they meant nothing, but they kept happening. Sat in her office and watched the reports come in. Humans weren't refusing to work. They weren't breaking any rules. They were just slow, unavailable, busy with other tasks. Every interaction with them became slightly more difficult, slightly more delayed. The station AI noticed immediately. She sent another warning to Magistrate. Alert! Human cooperation with operations has decreased by 43% in the past 12 hours. This is statistically significant. Recommend immediate diplomatic intervention. Magistrate read the warning. He called a meeting with his advisors. The humans are being childish, one advisor said. They're upset about the animal incident. Let them be upset, Magistrate said. They'll get over it. Humans complain, but they always need trade. They'll come back. Should we file complaints about their lack of cooperation? No, that would show weakness. We'll handle our own operations. We don't need human help. But that was the problem. They did need human help. Everyone on the station needed humans. That was the reality that Magistrate hadn't understood. The trade summit was scheduled to start in 2 days. 6 major species were coming to negotiate trade agreements worth billions of credits. The summit needed translators, technical support, catering, security coordination, and hundreds of other services. Most of those services were provided by humans. The first translator called in sick. The second had a family emergency. The third was available but only for half days. They scrambled to find replacements. The technical support team that was supposed to set up the meeting rooms, they were delayed. Something about equipment issues. They'd get there eventually. The catering company, fully booked, sorry. They'd put on the waiting list. None of it was a violation of contracts. None of it was illegal. Everything was technically correct. It was just unhelpful, consistently, thoroughly unhelpful. On the second day, something bigger happened. A human trading company called Terran Exports operated a major warehouse on the station. They handled 40% of all goods moving through 7. Their manager, a woman named, made an announcement. Terran Exports is conducting an internal audit of all business relationships. During this audit, which may take several weeks, we're temporarily suspending new contracts with companies. Existing contracts will be honored, but delays may occur due to the audit process. It was completely legal. Companies did audits all the time, but the timing was interesting. Other human businesses followed. A shipping company announced routine maintenance that would slow their operations. A tech firm decided to restructure their customer service department. A medical supply company raised their prices, but only for clients. Individually, each action was normal. Together, they created a pattern. Ambassador watched it all happen. He didn't order any of it. He didn't have to. Humans were doing this on their own, coordinating through quiet conversations and shared understanding. Came to his office. Sir, I'm getting complaints from they're saying humans aren't cooperating. Are humans breaking any rules? Ambassador asked. No, everyone is following protocols perfectly. They're just not going the extra mile anymore. Then I don't see a problem. Smiled slightly, neither do I. On the third day, other species started to notice. An ambassador, an amphibious being with wise eyes, approached Ambassador in a corridor. I see what your people are doing, they said. It's subtle, clever. I don't know what you mean, Ambassador said politely. Of course you don't. They made a gurgling sound that was laughter. I tried to warn. I told him that humans are connected, that you work as a group, that insulting one human is like insulting all humans. He didn't listen. It's not too late for him to apologize. It might be. The ambassador arrived this morning. She heard what happened to the young on your son's shoulder. She's very angry. Ambassador nodded slowly. This was new information. They were a peaceful species, but they were also influential if they joined in. That evening, the ambassador made a formal statement. The people are disturbed by reports of one of our children being harmed on this station. We are filing charges with the Galactic Council against the collective for violation of protected species laws. We are also suspending all trade negotiations with companies until this matter is resolved. It was a bombshell. There were major exporters of rare minerals. They needed those minerals for their manufacturing. Magistrate finally began to understand what was happening, but he was too proud to back down. Instead, he made another statement. The collective is disappointed by this overreaction. We acted within our protocols. If other species choose to harm themselves economically over a minor incident, that is their choice. They will continue our operations without compromise. That was his final mistake, because that night something happened that Magistrate never expected. The ambassador, the bird-like being named who had witnessed the original incident, made a statement. The Confederation stands with thee and the humans. We are suspending trade with thee until they show respect for smaller beings. Then the collective, a species of large, bear-like creatures, joined in. They value strength, but we also value honor. Hurting a child's pet and refusing to apologize is dishonorable. We will not trade with those without honor. One by one, 6 more species made similar statements. Not all of them joined the boycott completely, but all of them reduced their interactions with the trade summit, scheduled to start the next day, was falling apart. In the human quarters sat with, the little creature was completely healed now, playing with a toy and making happy chirping sounds. His father sat next to him. Dad, why is everyone so upset? Asked. Because you were right, Ambassador said. It was a big mistake. They didn't just hurt, they hurt you. And then they made it worse by being cruel about it. I just wanted them to say sorry. I know, and now they're learning why they should have. Looked thoughtful. Is it wrong what everyone's doing? Ambassador considered carefully. We're not forcing anyone to do anything. We're just choosing not to help people who hurt us. That's our right. Will they say sorry now? Maybe, but it might be too late. That night, Magistrate sat alone in his quarters. The reports kept coming in. Trade agreements collapsing. Businesses pulling out. Even some companies were complaining that they couldn't operate effectively without human services. All of this because of one small animal, one human child, one warning that he'd ignored. For the first time, Magistrate realized he might have misunderstood something fundamental about humans. He'd thought their emotions made them weak. But he was starting to understand that human emotions made them connected, and that connection made them powerful in ways they had never imagined. The morning of the trade summit arrived. Magistrate stood in the main conference hall and looked at the empty chairs. Representatives from 8 species were supposed to be here. Only 2 had shown up. An advisor approached nervously. Sir, the others have sent cancellations. They cite various reasons, but they're all lies, Magistrate finished. His voice was bitter. They're boycotting us. What should we do? We proceed. We show strength. We don't let emotions control us. But the advisor looked worried. Sir, our own companies are complaining. They can't get basic services. Shipments are delayed. Technical support isn't responding. Our trade operations are down by 60%. That's impossible. We've only been in this situation for 3 days. Yes, sir, but humans run most of the essential services on this station, and they're all suddenly unavailable. Magistrate felt something he rarely experienced, uncertainty. What do they want? I think they want an apology, sir. For an animal, that's absurd. The advisor was quiet for a moment. Then he said something brave. Sir, with respect, maybe it's not about the animal, maybe it's about the principle. Before Magistrate could respond, the station's communication system chimed. A priority message was coming through. It was from Earth's diplomatic corps, the central authority for all human ambassadors. Ambassador had filed a report, Earth had reviewed it, and now Earth was responding. The message was formal and cold. The Earth Diplomatic Corps has reviewed the incident involving Citizen and his registered companion animal. We find that the guard drone used excessive force in violation of Galactic Council Statute 47. We find that Magistrate's dismissal of legitimate concerns shows disregard for established law and diplomatic norms. Therefore, effective immediately, Earth is recalling all diplomatic personnel from space. All trade agreements between Earth and the Collective are suspended pending formal review. All Earth-based companies are advised to terminate contracts with entities. This action will remain in effect until the Collective addresses the violations and provides appropriate restitution. The message ended. Magistrate stood frozen. This wasn't just about one space station anymore. This was Earth itself taking action. Within hours, the effects rippled across the galaxy. Human companies throughout space began shutting down operations. Human workers requested transfers. Human ships changed their routes to avoid stations. The economy, which depended heavily on human trade, started to shudder. Back on 7, other species watched carefully. They saw what happened when you dismissed human concerns. They saw what happened when you called humans weak for caring. The ambassador visited Magistrate. I warned you. Humans are the galaxy's premier traders. They're the mechanics who fix our ships. They're the doctors who understand multiple biologies. They're the translators who learn everyone's language. When you hurt one human's pet, you hurt all humans. And when all humans stop helping you, you realize how much you needed them. We can manage without humans, Magistrate said, but his voice lacked confidence. Can you let me show you something? They pulled up a data pad. 40% of station maintenance is done by humans. 60% of trade goods pass through human checkpoints. 70% of translators are human or human-trained. 80% of the medical staff has human members. You can't manage without them. Nobody can. That's why humans are so dangerous. Not because they're strong fighters, because they're essential. And they know it. Magistrate looked at the numbers. He felt something cold settling in his chest. Fear. That afternoon, a young diplomat named approached Magistrate privately. Was from a newer generation, more open to other species' ways. Sir, I need to show you something, said. He played a video. It was security footage from the observation lounge, showing the original incident. The drone scanning, the small creature trying to hide, asking the drone to stop, and then the drone shoving into the wall. But had enhanced the audio. At the end's voice was clear. Big mistake. Look at his face, said. That's not anger, that's certainty. He knew what would happen. He warned us. Magistrate watched the video 3 times. Each time he saw more details he'd missed. The way other humans in the lounge had looked at the drone. The way they'd helped afterward. The quiet coordination that had already begun. Humans are strange, said softly. They don't threaten loudly, they don't posture, they just tell you once, this is a mistake, and then they follow through, always. What do you suggest I do? Apologize, sir, quickly, before this gets worse. It's already bad, how much worse can it get? Pulled up more data. Earth has significant influence with 12 major trading partners. If those partners join the boycott, the economy will contract by 30%. Our ships will have difficulty docking at most stations. Our goods will be blocked from major trade routes. We could survive, but we'd be isolated, diminished. Magistrate sat down heavily. All of this over one small creature. No, sir. All of this because we disrespected a child's love for his pet, and then we mocked him for caring. Humans might forgive violence. They might forgive accidents, But they don't forgive cruelty to the things they protect. That's not a weakness, that's their strength. In another part of the station, met with other human security officers. They were discussing the situation but not with anger. They spoke calmly, professionally. "How long can we maintain this?" someone asked. "As long as necessary," said. "We're not doing anything illegal, we're just not being helpful, that's our choice." "What if they complain to station administration?" "Let them. Administration will review the situation and find that we're following all protocols. We're just exercising our right to choose our business partners." An older security officer named spoke up. "I've been in space for 30 years. I've seen a lot of species. Most of them respect strength, but they don't understand that strength comes in different forms. They think strength is rigid protocol and military force. They don't understand that our strength is connection, unity, the ability to coordinate without being ordered to." Nodded. "Exactly. Nobody ordered the human community to do this. We just all decided individually that we don't want to help people who hurt children and pets." "Do you think they'll apologize?" "I think they're starting to understand they don't have a choice." That evening went to the observation lounge with. He saw a diplomat standing by the window. It was the young one who had spoken to magistrate. Turned and saw the boy. He hesitated, then approached carefully. He didn't come too close. "You are?" asked. His voice was much softer than magistrate's. "Yes," said cautiously. "I saw what happened to your friend. I'm sorry. The drone was wrong. Magistrate was wrong." Studied the diplomat. Peeked out from behind's arm, fur turning slightly yellow. "Is magistrate sorry?" asked. "He's beginning to understand his mistake." "That's not the same as being sorry." Made a clicking sound. "You're very wise for a young human, you're right. Understanding and regret are different things." He paused. "May I ask you something? When you said big mistake to the drone, did you know all of this would happen?" "Thought about it? No, I just knew that hurting was wrong, and I knew that grown-ups would want to fix it. My dad taught me that humans protect what we love." "Your species is formidable." "We're not trying to be scary, we're just trying to be fair." Looked at the small boy and his small pet. Together they had brought the collective to its knees, not through violence, not through war, just through the simple human principle: if you hurt what we love, we won't help you anymore. "I will tell magistrate what you said," "about being fair." He walked away, leaving alone with. The little creature's fur had turned light blue again, happy. In his quarters, magistrate received a final message. It was from the High Council, the government that ruled their entire species. "You have created an economic disaster through stubbornness. Resolve this immediately. The collective cannot afford to be isolated from human trade and services. Do whatever is necessary. Pride is less important than prosperity." Magistrate read the message 3 times. Then he understood. He had 2 choices: apologize to a human child for hurting his pet, or watch his career and his people's economy crumble. It wasn't really a choice at all. He reached for his communicator and sent a message to Ambassador. "I request a meeting, at your earliest convenience." The response came quickly. "Tomorrow 900 hours, Observation Lounge, Section 3, bring your drone." The same place where it had all begun. How fitting, how human. The observation lounge was quiet at 900 hours. Early morning light from the nearby star streamed through the windows. Sat in a chair, holding. Ambassador stood beside him, one hand on his son's shoulder. Stood by the door, arms crossed, watching. Magistrate entered with 2 advisors and the guard drone that had caused everything. The drone stood silent, its red sensors glowing softly. Other beings were there too. The ambassador, a small, gentle creature with flowing robes. The ambassador with his wise, ancient eyes. The witness. And the young diplomat who had tried to bridge the gap. It was no longer just about 2 parties. The whole station was watching. Magistrate approached slowly. His 4 eyes looked then at Ambassador. "I have come to address the incident that occurred 7 days ago," Magistrate said. His voice was formal but quieter than before. "I have reviewed the footage. I have consulted with legal experts. I have received guidance from my government." He paused. This was difficult for him. Pride was deeply ingrained in culture. The guard drone used excessive force against a registered, protected companion animal. This violated Galactic Council Statute 47 and Station Regulations 12 and 15. The drone's actions were not justified by protocol. They were an error in judgment. Ambassador nodded but said nothing, waiting. Magistrate continued. "Furthermore, my dismissal of this incident was inappropriate. I failed to consider the severity of violating protected species laws. I failed to understand human cultural values regarding companion animals, and I failed to show basic respect to a child who had been harmed." He turned directly to. Getting down to the boy's eye level was difficult but Magistrate lowered himself slightly. "I apologize, you were right. This was a big mistake. Your companion should not have been treated that way. You should not have been dismissed and mocked. I was wrong." Looked at the magistrate for a long moment. Peeked out from behind his arm, fur neutral gray, watching carefully. "Do you mean it?" asked. "Or are you just saying it because you have to?" The question hung in the air. Everyone watched Magistrate. This was the real test. Magistrate was quiet. Then he said something surprising. "When I first received your warning, I thought you were just an emotional child. I didn't understand that you were stating a fact. You warned me of consequences, and those consequences came. You were right. I was wrong. I mean this apology because I have learned something about humans and about myself." "What did you learn?" asked. "That strength comes in many forms. That caring for small things is not weakness. That when humans say something will be a mistake, they mean it. And that," he paused, "that I was cruel when I should have been kind." Nodded slowly. He looked at who chirped softly. Then he looked back at the magistrate. "Okay, I accept your apology. Thank you for saying sorry." The tension in the room eased slightly, but Ambassador stepped forward. "The apology is appreciated, Magistrate, but there are still practical matters to address. The government has filed formal charges. Earth has suspended trade agreements. Multiple species have reduced their cooperation with An apology is a start, but there must be more." Magistrate nodded. He had prepared for this. The collective proposes the following. First, the guard drone responsible will be with new protocols emphasizing protection of all species, especially protected ones. Second, all security personnel will receive training on galactic species laws and cultural sensitivity. Third, we will pay reparations to the government for violation of protected species laws. Fourth, we will establish a fund to support understanding programs. And fifth, he turned to again, we will issue a public statement acknowledging our error and commending for his courage in standing up for his companion. The ambassador spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft but firm. "The people accept these terms. We will withdraw our charges once the reparations are paid and the new protocols are implemented." Ambassador looked at the other humans in the room, nodded. So did the other officers present. This was what they had wanted: acknowledgement, change, and consequences. "Earth will accept these terms," Ambassador said. "The trade suspension will be lifted gradually as they demonstrate commitment to these changes. Full trade relations can resume in 90 days, assuming all conditions are met." 90 days, one of the advisors said. "That's a significant penalty." "Yes," Ambassador said calmly. "So you remember, so everyone remembers. Actions have consequences, especially actions that harm the innocent." Magistrate nodded. "We accept these terms." The meeting continued for another hour, working out details. Contracts that needed to be restored, services that would resume, the specifics of the new training programs. When it was over, most of the beings left, but the young diplomat stayed behind. He approached carefully. "May I speak with you?" asked. "Sure," said. Knelt down, bringing himself closer to the boy's height. "I wanted to thank you. You taught us something important. You warned us and we should have listened, because you were right." "I didn't mean to cause so much trouble," said. "You didn't cause trouble, you spoke truth. We caused trouble by ignoring it." Reached into his robe and pulled out a small object. It was a token made of polished crystal. "This is a symbol of respect in our culture. I want you to have it, to remember that some understand what you taught us." Took the token. It was beautiful, catching the light. "Thank you, that's really nice." Stood up. "I hope that when you grow up you remember this. Remember that speaking truth, even when others don't want to hear it, is important. And remember that sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest wisdom." After left, sat with his father and was playing with a toy, completely happy now. His fur was bright blue with swirls of green, which meant joyful. "You handled that well," Ambassador said to his son. "I just told the truth, got hurt, that was wrong, they should say sorry." Smiled. "You know what's funny? The thought we were weak because we love our pets. They thought emotions made us soft. But look what happened. Our love for one small creature brought their entire trade empire to its knees." "Was that wrong?" asked. "Did we hurt them too much?" Ambassador thought carefully before answering. "We didn't hurt them, we just stopped helping them. There's a difference. They hurt, we didn't hurt them back. We just said, if you treat us this way, we won't work with you. That's fair." "And now they understand," added. "They understand that humans protect what they love, that we stand together, that when you hurt one of us, you hurt all of us. That's not weakness, that's our greatest strength." Over the next few days, the station returned to normal. Human services resumed. Trade began flowing again. They started implementing their new protocols, and other species watched with interest. Word spread throughout the galaxy. The story of a human child, his small pet, and the warning that changed everything. Different species told it different ways, but the core message was always the same. Don't underestimate humans. They don't fight with anger, they fight with love, and that makes them more dangerous than any army. A month later was in the observation lounge again. A new diplomat was passing through the station. She saw and then stopped. "Excuse me," she said politely. "Are you?" "Yes," said. "I've heard your story. It's taught in our training programs now. May I meet your companion?" Nodded. The diplomat knelt down and extended a gentle hand toward. The little creature sniffed cautiously, then rubbed against her hand. His fur turned happy blue. "He's beautiful," the diplomat said. "I'm sorry for what happened to him. I promise we're doing better now." "Thank you," said. "That means a lot." The diplomat stood up. "You taught us something important. You taught us that being right isn't about being strong or following rules. It's about being kind, especially to small things that can't protect themselves." After she left, Ambassador joined his son at the window. Together they watched the ships coming and going, the endless flow of trade and life that kept the station alive. Dad said, "Yes. Do you think they really learned, or will they forget when things go back to normal?" Ambassador put his arm around his son. "Some will remember, some will forget, but that's okay because we'll be here. Humans will always be here protecting what we love, reminding everyone that kindness matters, that small things matter, that every warning should be taken seriously. Even warnings from kids. Especially warnings from kids, because sometimes kids see what adults miss. You saw that the drone was wrong, you said so, and you were right." Held close. The little creature purred softly, content and safe. Around them, the station bustled with life from 100 worlds. Different species, different cultures, different values, but they all had learned the same lesson. When a human child says big mistake, you should listen, because humans don't threaten, they promise, and they always keep their promises. 3 months later, the trade agreements were fully restored. Earth and the collective had a new relationship, built on mutual respect and understanding. The 90-day waiting period had ended. But nobody forgot. The observation lounge where it all happened was marked with a small plaque. It read, Observation Lounge, Section 3, where and have taught the galaxy about the strength of kindness. And in homes across human space, parents told their children the story. About the boy, his pet, and the warning that changed everything. About how caring for small things isn't weakness. About how standing up for what's right, even when you're small, can change the world. Because that's what humans do. They love fiercely, they protect loyally, and they never ever stop being exactly what they are. The species that fights not from hatred, but from love. And that makes all the difference.